6 months ago, I bought the legendary Shure SM7B broadcast dynamic microphone, which retails for £350. Now, previously, I was using the Rode Procaster. I'd had it for about 5 years, and that thing I actually got secondhand, so it cost me £80. So laying out 350 was a massive outlay for me. Now, I didn't initially review this when it came out. What I wanted to do was come back 6 months later, share all my experiences, all the different hardware that I've been using with it, what I think about this microphone. Should you go out and buy one? I'm going to cover all of that today. But before I start with that, I want to say a massive thanks to today's sponsor, Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes to get your creative juices flowing. Whether it's design, photography, video, or just upskilling your Microsoft Office skills, you can guarantee that Skillshare has a class for you. Now, one thing I've always loved about Skillshare is that many of their classes provide project files for you to work along with the class creator. I have found this especially useful with photography and video based applications. Having the assets that match the class really do help keep you engaged, and I personally find you learn so much more from these added files. One class I would highly recommend to any budding filmmakers is Video on a Budget by Christopher Rhodes. Although this isn't the typical type of content that I would upload, learning about planning a video project from start to finish has really helped me analyze how I make my content. Honestly, I think you will love what Skillshare have to offer, and Skillshare have kindly provided for the first 1,000 of my subscribers to join a 1 month trial to Skillshare Premium. So definitely go and check out Skillshare. Honestly, I think you'll love it. Although you can learn so much stuff from YouTube, and even I watch a lot of tutorial videos on there all the time. I just love the way that all the Skillshare's classes are laid out. I found this especially useful recently as well, because I've just got myself a MacBook Air M1 and I'm slowly teaching myself Final Cut Pro. And I just found that, I just couldn't find the right videos that I needed. As there, they've got all the classes just laid out and it's really easy to follow. So yeah, stop waffling about that. Anyway, over to this microphone then. So the Joe Rogan mic, the microphone you've seen everywhere, the microphone that you need to be the best podcaster, streamer, or gamer, and all of that content. Like, do you really need it? Do you need to spend £350? I don't think you do. I don't think you do. And we're going to cover all of that in this video. But the thing that I want to do in this video is I'm going to break it down sort of into 3 sections. So firstly, I'm going to tell you all about the space that we're working with, because that's very important. Acoustic treatment, all of that stuff. Going to talk about all the hardware I've used with it. And then we're going to talk obviously about the build quality of this microphone, because it's built like a freaking tank. And then I'm going to move into, why would you want a dynamic microphone in the first place? Do you want one? Is it going to be for you? It might not be. I'm going to cover all of that. Talk a little bit about the sound of it as well. And then I'm just going to come back at the end, final thoughts. But also, I think it's very important to mention, would I buy this microphone if I was going to do it again? I think that's very important to cover. So firstly then, the space, the treatment, the acoustic treatment. I haven't got a lot of acoustic treatment, okay? I've got more than maybe most would, but I would call it light treatment. So behind my monitors, I've got two 27-inch monitors here. So that's going to bounce a lot of reflections. Behind that, I've got some cheapy foam, thin stuff. It's more for a look when I'm sat around the other way. To the left of me here, I've got a windowsill, but I've got a blind and some curtains. The curtains are very thin though, but that's going to block out a little bit. And then over to the right of me, I've got a room divider, which only covers about half of the space, because this is an open plan lounge diner. So I can still sort of walk through it. And I've just chucked a blanket over it. Below me, I've got a rug. Behind me, there's absolutely nothing. And above me, I've got this ceiling. This ceiling really bounces audio off. It's been a real struggle for me since I've moved in. And I think it's very important whenever you're going to be buying a microphone to watch lots of content on it, not just one video. Of course, there's the top 3 or 5 channels, which make some great content, but you have to remember they've got mic technique. They know how to talk into a mic correctly all of the time. That's what they do. It's their job. And for a lot of them, it's their full-time job. And they've generally got full acoustic treatment all the way round. So what you're hearing here is just in a light acoustic treatment, but it doesn't do masses. There's not a big difference of this microphone with or without it. So over to the build quality then of this microphone. What do I think of the build quality of it? Said it earlier, it's built like a tank. Not that you'd want to drop this thing, but if you dropped it, or not that you'd want to throw this thing, but if you threw it against the wall and the floor would come off worse. Okay, this microphone is built fantastically. Now, I wish that they made maybe a different shock mount for it. I don't know why. It's got internal suspension. Maybe I'm just nitpicking. And I know it's a bit hard to see it here because of you know, it's not in focus because my face is in focus. But maybe if there was some, I've not seen any third party ones, so maybe there's just not a need for it. But yeah, the build, it's solid, it's premium, it should be, it's £350. The thing is, most £100 dynamic broadcast microphones are built like tanks as well. That's the good thing about it over a condenser. So solid build quality. The one thing I love about it is this little piece here, because it spins. It's not doing it today because it's real tight, but this piece basically spins for you to take it on and off again. And I seriously wish that every single shock mount on the planet did it like this, because you should always take the mic out first, but you might be lazy like me. And then you're spinning an expensive mic round in a shock mount. You only have to start the thread wrong at the beginning and it pops off, drops the floor, could break. The cable bit, I don't like the cable bit where it comes out. A lot of you might think it looks clean, it looks nice. I wish it was out the back, which we'll talk about in a second. So if we were to put a Fethead on here, Fethead, then we'd have the cable coming out over the top. Okay. Also as well, can you see this? Which is covering my face. I actually had to flip that around. It was on the other side. And the reason that I've changed that is because if you do this, can you see? You can see what's going on there. Okay. Cable. So when you've got it in this position, I'm not a big fan of it. Now, on the back of this, you've also got, because that's where I prefer the XLR to come out, you've also got a high pass filter, which I'm not using today because I'm using it on another device, which I'll show you in a second. And there is also a presence boost as well. I don't really like the presence boost. I know that most people don't like the presence boost, so it's up to you if you want to use it. I mean, you can always try it, but I'm not going to use it. Okay, then let's talk about the devices that I've been using with this, and it is quite a few, but I want to share all that information with you. We're not going to talk too much about the Behringer preamp and voice processor that I had because we're using a different one, which we'll get into a second, but let's talk about interfaces and the requirements for dynamic microphones. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice if you're new to a dynamic microphone, the first time you plug it in is you got to turn that gain all the way up. You got to dial it all the way up. And that is where a lot of people recommend you things like Fetheads. Focus. Sony, your face focus is just too fast. But yeah, this thing costs about £40, and I think it adds somewhere between 25 or 30 dB of pure gain, which means that you generally, well, pure gain, noise-free gain. So generally, you're only going to have to put your preamp about half the way. So the two audio interfaces that I've tested this out with beforehand, which I both now sold, the first one is the Audion Evo 4, okay? Now, from a sound perspective, for £100, the Evo 4 is phenomenal. It powers the DT990 250 ohms. I don't just mean like it powers them. There's a difference between powering these headphones and driving them properly, and it does a bloody good job. A really good job, okay? The preamps, though, which is what you're here for and what you want to know about, drive this, no issues, no Fethead needed, super quiet, absolutely lovely interface, absolutely let down by this middle control dial that you constantly have to spin back and forward to change all your options, and it's just gone. And that is why that interface is gone. Also, the line inputs, which you'll see why in a second, aren't to the level that I wanted them, and I was having to add too much makeup gain on the actual interface. So that audio interface was sold, and I stupidly purchased the PreSonus Studio 24C without even thinking about it. Didn't even read up about it or any of that stuff. Now, PreSonus is a company that I like. It's some of the first audio interfaces that I had, but that interface, I think it only has 45 or 50 dB of gain. Basically, when I recorded on this, without this, it was coming through at like minus 25, minus 30 dB. So that was no good. And it literally didn't drive these at all, barely. I mean, yeah, I could get sound out of them for voiceover, but then I'd have to switch it over if I wanted to play games. So yeah, that interface is gone. So what am I using now then? Let me show you. So this is the hardware that I'm using now then. This is the DB8X286S. You can pick this up for about £120, and I would definitely recommend it. The thing is with this as well, it's got enough gain to drive the SM7B. As you can see over here, sorry, I'm reaching over camera. It's just under 60 dB. We've also got a compressor as well, which I just have so it kicks in very lightly, a de-esser, an enhancer, an expander, and a gate. And I know what a lot of you are thinking here. Okay, if this is a review of an SM7B, I want to hear it unprocessed, but this is my 6-month review, okay? This is me using it for 6 months and how I want it to run. I then go into a Focusrite Clarette 2 Pre USB audio interface. Should cost about 350. I got it secondhand for, I think it was like £160. It was a bargain. Now, these preamps can just about get you to a level on an SM7B. It's not quite enough, which is annoying because the preamps do sound really nice, but I would still recommend using a Fethead with the Focusrite Clarette. But there you go then. There is the setup. And honestly, I love that setup. I like being able to adjust everything with my hand and get a nice clean signal coming in beforehand. And I would definitely recommend it. And one thing I'm actually going to show you as well, because of with needing so much gain, there is a problem with noise. So I've got an expander and a gate on at the moment, so it's cutting it out. I'm just going to show you it now. I'm just going to turn the gate off so you can listen to just the noise for a second. So why would you want to buy a SM7B or a broadcast dynamic microphone or even a dynamic microphone? Why would you want one if you've got to add all that extra gain, possibly have noise, ending up having to buy extra hardware to get it going? There's got to be a reason, and it's a very big reason. And the biggest reason is off-axis noise rejection. That is where this thing is going to excel over a... What's the camera? Focus. Focus. Over a condenser microphone. Okay. That is somewhere that this is going to excel. So I'm going to give you an example right now. I'm going to tell you an example right now. Jenna's upstairs. She's watching the Suicide Squad because she fell asleep last night. And I've got a soundbar. I can hear little bits of rumble coming through the floor. It is a typical grey, horrible British day. And the kids are both chilling in their rooms, both on their Xboxes, both playing Fortnite. And I can hear them because these are open. So I hear everything that goes on in the house. Troy knows all. Can you hear anything? I know I'm using an expander and a gate, but can you hear nothing? No, you can't. And this is the reason why I got the Rode Procaster. So before I lived with Jenna, I always rented out my spare bedroom. My room was on the front of the house. I lived near a train station. Couldn't really hear the trains that much, but there was plenty of car traffic going there. So I'd regularly get loud exhausts coming through on my condenser microphone. Also, as well, when you're living with someone, whether it's friends, family, or housemates, if you want to make content, you need them to be quiet. This allows them not to have to sit in absolute silence. And that is why I'd recommend this. And obviously for not so well acoustically treated rooms. It's not perfect. Look what happens if I back off a little bit. It's probably going to bring in a lot more room tone into the room. It's probably going to sound a bit quieter, but there you go. Okay, so that is why you're going to want a broadcast microphone, dynamic microphone. Now, this really does get me over to the sound of the microphone then. This isn't going to be for everyone. This tone, even though I've changed it and tweaked it a little bit, isn't going to be for everyone. This broadcasty, boomy sound won't work with everyone's voice. It may be too much bottom end for certain people. If you've got a really, deep voice, it could be too much for some people. Now, the mid-range I think is fine and is exactly where it is. One place that this struggles is the top end. The top end is very dark. If you look at the frequency response, it might as well be a pair of Sennheiser headphones. It's veiled. It's all over the place. And it's not particularly good. It's good for me because I am quite sibilant in the way that I talk, okay? There's a lot of S's that come through in my voice, and that could definitely help me out. But if you're missing top end and then you use this microphone, you could sound completely flat and muted. And I know there is the argument that you can add all that in and you can add it all in afterwards. That's great. But 95% of people that buy a microphone to upload stuff on YouTube are literally just going to level balance it, and then that will be it. I mean, I've tried. I just can't EQ my voice. I don't know if it's because I'm just sound so goddamn horrible, but I just haven't enjoyed, I just haven't got the time to spend, which is why I use the 286S. And that is another reason for this type of content. You have seen me use the condenser microphone a lot more recently. And why is that? Because it sounds more natural. Yes, I get more room tone. Yes, I get more reflections, but I just think it sounds natural. So this microphone, same with the last one with the Rode, it isn't going to be my everyday, all day, everyday microphone. I know some people are going mad because they'll think an SM7B is all you ever need. But for voiceovers, yes. For gaming footage, yes. For live streaming, yes. An absolutely overkill mic when I'm playing with my friends. Crossplay on Warzone. Overkill. They're always like, your mic sounds so good. I'm like, well, man, it costs a lot of money. When you actually process everything that I've got here, the headphones, the stands, the audio interfaces, the DBX, all of that stuff, the total cost is over £1,000. You don't need to spend that much. And I didn't spend that much because I got it a lot cheaper, but that's a big investment, which brings me over to, would I buy this microphone if I had another chance at it? I don't think I would. I mean, I've got no criticism against the SM7B. It is one of the best in class dynamic microphones. I want to try the RE20 because I think the RE20 will be a little bit more suited to me. I think that's probably what I'm after. So I'm going to get one out to try at one point. But like I said, as a microphone, I'm not using as my main mic for this content. Okay. The Procaster for all that voiceover stuff, all of those extra bits and bobs that I'd be using it for, plugged into the 286S would have probably been enough for me. Now, you could say that I could sell this and go back to the road and pocket myself some money. It was a consideration, but I thought no, because this is a nicer sounding mic than the Rode. I'm going to give it that, and I've bought it now. And the way that I see it is, yes, it was £350, and £350 I could have better spent elsewhere. I mean, personally, I would have not bought this for £200 and then probably spent like £500 on a condenser. Could have got the 540S Neumann TLM 102. To be honest, if I was getting a TL 102, I'd probably save up and get a 103. But those are the considerations. But to bring me back to where I first was before I started waffling, at £350, okay, I see this as a 10-year investment. I mean, you could probably use this microphone for 20 years. So for the next 10 years, it's cost me £35 a year. And that's how I break it down. So yeah, fantastic microphone. Don't get me wrong. And if you want to buy one, fair play to you. But if you're just starting off a channel, honestly, a decent audio interface, a nice little pair of headphones, and something like a pod mic, the new AT2040, if you don't want to go down that route, even something like an AT2020 will be fine with you. This mic obviously runs rings around all of them, but your money might be better spent elsewhere. But then audio is the most important thing. I feel like I'm just going on, but I feel for 99% of the people out there, this might not be needed for you. But if you're buying one, I hope that all of my experience with it, all the different devices I've been using with it, how I'm using it in my environment, how crap my voice sounds, all of that stuff, I hope it's been useful to you. And let me know in the comment section below. I'll be back with some content real soon. Make sure you subscribe. Big shout out to Skillshare. Make sure you go and join for that 1 month free premium access and go and get yourself some good learning in. Anyway, that's it from me today.